Hey everyone, Brian from Bearable Traders here, Saturday, March 14th, and just going to do a quick video here, just going to talk a little bit about where we are with the markets and potential opportunities that might exist going forward. It's probably not going to be tomorrow or next week or maybe even next month, but there is going to be some opportunities, and we want to be sure that we're prepared to take advantage of them. And just going to start out here. This is I haven't been doing a lot of swing trading in the last week or two just because the markets have been so volatile, but this is, we'll get back into a situation where we can do some more swing trades. We had some great swing trades last year, carried on to this year, and like I said, been kind of stepping back, keeping my cash on the sideline and waiting for an opportunity when markets settle down again and become a little bit more predictable. But let's talk about where we are with the market now. And people that remember 10 years ago, this was the image that we looked on our screens, television screens, almost every day. If you remember, this was the this was the Horizon oil rig, then the Gulf that went down, burned, and I think there was an explosion. Unfortunately, several people died, and rig sank. And of course, they started spewing sort of millions of gallons of crude oil, environmental disaster, into the Gulf. And we looked at this for months on end, and it just continued and continued. And yeah, that was one crisis. So let's take a look at what usually goes through investors' minds when we have a crisis like this. So it starts out really, when the crisis starts, a lot of stuff is unknown. We don't know what's happened. We don't know what the implications are going to be. And sorry, this chart's put together by Donald Rumsfeld, not myself. So I read an article that he used this, and I thought it was kind of instructive. Anyway, this is so we don't get a lot of market reaction at this phase. And if you remember with the virus, when things came out about the virus in China, and there was talk about this new virus that was spreading, there wasn't a lot of market reaction. People didn't know what implications it was going to have. North America, the rest of the world, didn't know a lot about what virus was all about. But then we kind of moved to this phase here, and a lot more became known. And we also found out that the virus was spreading around the world. We still didn't have any knowledge about, how we were going to control it and what the economic impact was going to be, because it was starting to become clear there was going to be significant economic impact. So right here, this transition from here to here was really when the panic started to set in. We had a lot of stuff that now we had an understanding of, but we still didn't know a lot of the implications. So market hates uncertainty, and this is where we get the panic selling, just like we got in the oil rig stocks and BP when we were looking at the oil spewing and unknown about how they were going to stop it, because all this equipment that was supposed to shut the thing off didn't function, and yeah, it was just a disaster. So eventually, around this point, we get to a point where we kind of know everything. We know what the implications have been or going to be, and we know what we need to do to solve it. So solve it, whatever the problem is. So right around here usually is the opportunity. Sometime between here and here is the opportunity that we can look at to the markets for possible investments. So let us take a look at some of those possible investments. These are just some stocks that I am looking at personally. I mean, this is just my own watch list that I'm starting to build, and this is something I'm suggesting other people do as well. If you've got some cash sitting on the sidelines and you're looking for an opportunity to invest it at some point, and I don't know when that point is going to be, because we're still in this known unknown phase, but we will be moving forward. China's already a month ahead of us, and the economic activity seems to be turning around, picking up there. So, maybe it's a month, maybe it's longer. I don't know. But the technical action in the charts will tell us that. But I know we're up. I know one thing for sure: we're in for some more volatile market days. There's no question about that. Anyway, like I said, I'm just building a watch list of stocks that I might want to throw in a portfolio, and I'm suggesting that you guys do the same. So here's one that people keep talking about. A lot of the retail analysts like um, this ABBV stock. It's held up pretty well actually when you look at the overall market action. It's down maybe 10, 12%, 15%, which is a lot better than what the market has done, and seems to be holding in. This would have been, it may come back down and test this moving average again. If it does, might be a good opportunity to jump in there. On that one, I'm looking for stocks that that are going to have resilience, that are going to be not going to be affected by viruses or the implications of viruses. People are still going to buy junk food, like in Coke's the junk food, and with their pops and soft drinks really taking a hit here, and I think could come back nicely once everybody stops selling everything in their portfolio. Um, LK, I keep coming back to this one, the Chinese coffee company. Again, I think it could start moving back up again if things start improving in China. Microsoft's another one that that people really like. I mean, it's really sold off here, and again, we're looking for bargains in the basement, and this could be one. This space is another one I kind of like. I like the it's pulled back to this area where it broke out from, pretty close. But this is this sort of one of stocks. I mean, people really like this stock because it was like a space play. I think once the markets settle down, I think people are going to come back to this one as well. So keep an eye on that. Verizon Communications, you could pick any number of communication stocks. I mean, I don't think no matter what happens in the world, we're not going to stop using our cell phones. So, this has been sold off just like everything else. So, opportunity possibly there as well. And if you're not into investing into specific stocks, you might want to consider ETFs. There's the small caps ETF. A lot of these have Chinese exposure, so you could consider something like an EEM. EDC is another one. It's a beta ETF, which goes up faster, but also drops faster. So you might want to consider that, but it's a little more risky than just a straight EEM. So I'm thinking, my thought is here, emerging markets may come back a little bit faster than the US. Gold and nugget. Wow, gold has just been sold off. Like, gold actually didn't soft that much, but the miners sure, man, they just took it on the chin. And I think the miners are going to be a good play here. Gold in an environment where zero interest rates. I think gold is going to come back. I understood from some articles I was reading that maybe some bankers and countries were selling gold to raise cash, and that's why it dropped so much. But I think it may come back. So gold and silver could be two good plays that might come back here. And then, man, the miners should respond with the gold prices, but they've been diverging a little bit lately. Again, it's just everybody selling everything. It didn't, no rhyme or reason. Material sector, again, sort of a reflection of economic activity. So, and energy, I'm not really keen on energy. I think there's just a lot of headwinds for energy, although this has a lot of the big names in it. And if anything's going to survive, it'll be the big names, and they're definitely due for a bounce here. Again, the banks are challenged with this very low interest rates and the spreads. I don't know, not as keen on them. Technology is definitely one that I'm very interested in. That led us on the way up here. I think it'll lead us out again. Technology isn't so, I mean, if we're going to be, what are they, social distancing and all the rest of that, technology still works in my mind. So I think that's something that would be definitely worth keeping an eye on. XLP, the consumer staples, generally does well in economically challenged activities because they'll cut back on their discretionary spending, but they won't generally they don't generally cut back on things they need. And you've got the utilities. Utilities have really been beaten up, and they're a safety trade. So I'm thinking that this might actually be an interesting trade for a comeback here because they've got really beaten up here, and I think they're due for a bounce. And the healthcare. Hard to say what healthcare is going to do. I mean, you would think with health concerns they would be doing fairly well. You've got an election cycle coming up. Politicians love to beat up healthcare companies. I don't know if they're going to do that this time around. They kind of need them, so I'm kind of thinking healthcare might be worth investing in as well. But definitely technology and utilities and consumer discretionary. I already talked about that. Maybe not so much if investors are going to be pulling in their dollars a little bit and not spending on discretionary items. So that's it, everybody. Just wanted to do a quick video on some of things I'm looking at for a watch list to jump back in once we see some bottoming action. The market will tell us when, by putting in double bottoms or, long periods of consolidation, and less volatility. I think that, that'll be sort of a signal that it'll be opportunity to get back in and maybe hopefully ride the wave back up. Remember, interest rates are at zero, and the whole reason we had that big run up was because of the very low interest rate environment. It was basically this TINA, there is no alternative. When you look at, nobody wants to put money in a T-bill that's not paying anything, so kind of leaves you with the market, and I think people are going to come back to it. So it's my thoughts. I'll do another video tomorrow night, and we'll talk about the week ahead, but hope you found this instructive, and yeah, so we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.